It was at 9 o'clock. We always have our Monday morning meeting to discuss things that occurred over the weekend and whatnot. And we did that. We discussed things that went on over the weekend and, some other personal things that he talked about with regard to his family and all. Mm-hmm. And then he went over near his desk and picked up a file folder, came walking back towards me. When he did, he said, so what are your plans for the future? That's kind of a red flag to me because I've never been asked that before. Yeah. And I said to him, well, I guess you're going to tell me what my plans are for my future. And he said, well, the city needs to go in a different direction, and I'm going to have to let you go. And
it was as simple as that?
Simple as that.
Did you ask for an explanation of why?
I said, can you explain why? Can you tell me what direction you're looking at? He said, well, your car wasn't at the station much in the last 30 days. Okay. And so then he pushes a resignation letter in front of me and asked me to sign the resignation letter. And I told him I would not sign it, that I'd done nothing to warrant a resignation, and that I would not sign it. And he said, the only thing that I have left to do then is to terminate you. And I said, well, then that's what you're going to have to do.
Well,
did you push him for specifics then? Did he ever offer anything other than?
He offered me nothing else. And I did not push anything else, but he did not offer anything else either.
Well, one of the things that you said in your statement, which we've published in total on our website, is that you hadn't gotten a lot of feedback from the city manager on your performance.
I've gotten no feedback from Kevin Beatty on my performance.
How often do these Monday meetings happen? Every Monday?
Every Monday.
And at no point was your performance discussed ever?
No. Prior to Mr. Beatty, Alan Gill was the city manager. Mm-hmm. I had 2 annual performance reviews while he was here, and both of those were glowing. Obviously there were benchmarks that he wanted to see as a city manager,
right.
And I was able to meet all the benchmarks that he had ever laid out for me. And the performance reviews were always very positive, overwhelmingly positive.
What are you going to do next?
Well, I'm looking for another job. I still have a family. I have children in college. I have a home. I was given no severance package. I was given nothing except shown the door unceremoniously. Had all of my equipment, car keys, and everything else removed. So that's where I'm at right now. Actively looking for other employment so that I can somehow maintain my property and my family.
No severance of any kind?
No.
Have you consulted with a lawyer yet?
No.
You going to?
I don't know. I may, but I haven't yet. Illinois is a state where you're an at-will employee. So without a contract, and I had asked for a contract when I started here, and I was told that no department head has a contract, and I would not get one. So without a contract, I'm pretty much can be released for any reason, whether it be good, bad, or otherwise, and I understand that.
Not even 2 weeks for anything?
No.
Going into Monday, did you have any notion at all that something like this could happen?
Absolutely none.
Per your statement, you said you have no idea what matters Mr. Beatty is referring to. I mean, he mentioned confidential issues or anything like that.
Nothing.
Did he ever?
Nothing. What I told you is what was mentioned.
Wow.
What I have in my statement is all that was mentioned.
I'm wondering what kind of feedback you've been receiving from the public in the wake of what you made available earlier today.
I've had a few texts from different people telling me that they were sorry, that that they think there was a mistake made, that, you know, they wish I was still here, but I did not, haven't read or seen anything else that might be online or posted anywhere. I've been kind of busy looking for some employment.
Yeah. You looking in law enforcement or?
Right now, I'm looking for anything, and I'm definitely. I've been in law enforcement for 35 years, so
Right.
that's kind of in my blood. So yeah, I am still looking for a law enforcement position, but in the interim, until I can find something like that, I have to find something to pay the bills. So.
Are you looking down here, back at the Metro East area? I know you were in Alton before here.
I'll entertain anything, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm pursuing whatever I can find in whatever area that is, whether it be here or somewhere else.
You know, there's a portion in here that where you talk about the lack of information on several high-profile cases, and you say, quoting now, I was given a verbal directive by Mr. Beatty and the Jackson County State's Attorney that I was not to talk to the media about these cases.
Yes.
Mr. Beatty informed me that he would take responsibility for all media activity as to those cases. In law enforcement, how common is that?
It's fairly common. There are a lot of times that you know, a city administrator or a mayor will want to make the notifications of any of the high-profile cases on his or her own. There are other municipalities or other agencies where they allow the chief to handle all that. Usually the smaller agencies tend to be the ones where the administrators want to step in, where the larger agencies, they have bigger fish to fry, so they don't want to get involved in the day-to-day operations of the police department.
But you're a human being also, and in these instances with Molly Young and Craven, the Varghese family, what would your inclination have been? What would you have said, and what would you say to them now?
Well, just as I had said in my statement, my heart breaks for them because I am a father too. I understand exactly what their frustration level is and what their you know, aggravation with the lack of a response from us is. But once again, when you're told not to make a statement, there's not much else that I can do. That's a legal order for me to follow. Mm-hmm. If it's an illegal, unethical, or immoral order, then I don't have to follow that. But any legal order that I am given by my superior, I have to follow that order.
You felt that order was legal, ethical, and moral?
I didn't feel that it was ethical or moral, but I felt that it was legal. And I felt that if I violated that, I could be terminated.
So you mentioned these examples in your statement. Is that, in your mind, even though you were given no reason, is that kind of why you're tying? Is that an underlying reason you feel as to why you were let go? Because these are things you bring up, or are these just things you wanted to say?
Those are things that I wanted to say because I wanted to clear the air a little bit to make sure, because I've been taking a lot of heat for not releasing information. That is not my fault. You know, I would have loved to release some information. However, legally, when we have ongoing investigations and the state's attorney tells us we can't release any information, it would jeopardize a prosecution or a possible prosecution if we were to release the wrong information, and that would get in the hands of the individuals they're trying to prosecute. So, you know, we have a legal, moral, and ethical obligation not to release certain information, but there is other information that could have been released if we were allowed to do so, if I was allowed to do so. And I wanted to, now that I have no tie with the Carbondale Police Department, I still have an ethical dilemma that I can't release information that would jeopardize a prosecution, but I can at least release some information and let the families know that I feel sorry for them, that it was not my fault in particular, and that some of the, for instance, the Molly Young case, that was a case that was taken over by the state police. I can't release their reports. I can't divulge any of their investigation. That's their job to do that. You know, so anything that I'm being accused of with regard to not releasing information on the Molly Young case has to come from the state police, not me. And the state police were also told by the state's attorney not to release any information, as it might jeopardize the prosecution of that case, should there be one. With regard to the Praven Voorhees case, there was, I believe that the family has in their heart that, again, there was something that we did wrong, or we did an inadequate investigation on that. But I think they're being fed misinformation due to the fact that we can't give them certain information. And what I can say is that, we did everything we possibly could. Praven was reported missing 21 hours after he was determined to be missing. That's a long time to wait before you tell somebody's missing. Once we did find out he was missing, we did everything that we possibly could to make sure that we tried to locate him. We had air support out. We had the state police airplane. We had a helicopter. We had literally 14 canines out looking. We had hundreds of people out on foot. We did numerous and countless interviews of people that were alleged witnesses. So, we did everything we possibly could to locate Mr. Voorhees. And once again, we did not know until one of the individuals came forward that the state police had actually conducted a stop of that individual out by Buffalo Wild Wings. And once we found that out, then we acted on it as soon as we possibly could and was able to locate him.
And that was the state police, not Carbondale police.
Correct. And again, I'm being basically accused of not knowing that occurred in my jurisdiction, but there's no possible way that I can know everything that goes on in my jurisdiction. If I did, I'd be a pretty hot commodity.
With the city manager terminating you, he's in effect made a comment on your job performance without specifically saying anything.
Yes.
What would you say about his job performance?
Well, I really don't want to throw rocks and sound like I have, an axe to grind with him, but let's just say I think it could have been much better. The lack of responsiveness was always an issue for me. The lack of being able to make a decision or get a response back to department head in a timely manner was always an issue.
Was it a contentious personal relationship, or did you feel like...
No, I felt, I never felt any animosity or any kind of tension on a personal level. Always very affable and friendly.
And that's the way Monday started.
Yes.
This is out of the clear blue sky.
Yes.
One thing I've never understood is what the heck happened to your service gun?
That's a good question. I have it back now. I don't know what you mean, whatever happened to it, but I have it back now.
The one that was reported missing.
Right.
How did it go missing? I just never have understood that.
I kept it. It's kind of a long story, and I don't know if you want me to go through all this, but I will. You can edit it however you want. But we had family in from out of town on that particular weekend. We went to several different places throughout the community. We went to Walmart. We went to the farmers market. We ended up going out to Giant City Lodge for lunch. So we went numerous places. During that time, it was warmer weather, and I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt and didn't want to have my firearm hanging out. So I ended up putting it in a console of our vehicle. I'm a habitual door locker. I even, when I get out of the car, I hit the button 5-6 times to make sure that it's locked. However, I didn't know that what we had was an issue with our door lock, that once you hit the button, it didn't always lock. So I'm assuming that somebody got into it somewhere after we locked it. I don't know whether it was at the farmer's market, whether it was in my driveway, whether it was in the parking lot of Walmart or out of Giant City. I have no idea where that occurred. But somewhere, at some point, someone got into our vehicle and took that weapon out of the console of my personal car. That evening, once our family had all left, because they were out-of-town visitors, so once they all left, I went out to my car to get the gun out of the hand rest, out of the arm rest. And when I was looking there, it wasn't in there. There was a GPS in there with the wiring, but there was my gun wasn't in there. So immediately then I go in and start questioning my family. Did somebody take this out inadvertently? Is it moved somewhere? Did somebody take it out with some of their belongings? They don't know where it's at. We called the relatives. We made sure that everybody that we were with knew that it was missing and asked them if they inadvertently picked the thing up to make sure that we hadn't somehow misplaced it. And I get beat up again for waiting a week to report it. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I was reporting something that was actually missing and that someone in my family or myself hadn't inadvertently laid it down somewhere and not known where it was at. So I tore my house apart looking for it, tore my yard apart, tore all my cars apart, trying to find out if I could locate it. Once I found out that I was not going to locate it, I went in and made the report. At the time, there was no statute of limitation. There was no statute that says I had to report it within a certain time frame. The only thing I had to do was an ethical obligation to report it, which is what I did. There was no legal thing in place, no law that said I had to report it at the time, but I did. And then there was the mix-up with the number. At the time, one of our lieutenants was coming into work, and he picked up a dog on his way to work. And he asked the dispatcher for a case number for that dog report. He brought the dog in, he put it in the back of the animal control truck, and he went upstairs to his office to write his report. When I came in, I contacted him and said, look, somehow my gun is gone, whether it's lost, whether it's stolen, somehow it's gone and I need to make a report on it. He said he would make the report on it. He called down to the dispatcher and had them pull a number for a lost or stolen firearm. He then called down and said, I'm coming down to get my number. When he went down there, they gave him the number for the animal dog report rather than the gun report. And he went up and he initially then started doing the report under the animal report number. But the number was in the computer as far as the gun report had always been in there. It was always under that. He just inadvertently started his report under the wrong number. Once we found out that was the case, then we tied those numbers together so that they would always, if you looked up one, you would find the gun report. If you looked up the other one, you would find the gun report. But again, that got blown out of proportion as a conspiracy that I was trying to hide the fact that my gun was missing.
It must have been quite a shock to learn that your weapon was used in a homicide.
Absolutely, it was. And I can remember it to this day. I was over in Missouri and we were looking at getting a canine, another canine. And so we were watching this canine do its work to make sure it was something that we wanted. And I get the phone call, hey Chief, we got some good news and some bad news. Good news is we found your gun. Bad news, it's been used in a homicide. So yeah,
someone really said it to you that way?
Yes.
It's cold.
Yes, and so it was a very difficult time for me because obviously even though I know I was the victim of a crime, I still felt a little bit responsible for that in a certain way, and so it was very difficult for me at that time.
Wow. So you ultimately got that weapon back?
Yes.
After it's been done
After it was
using in
adjudicated.
prosecution?
Yes. After it was adjudicated and the prosecution didn't need it anymore, the state's attorney returned it to me.
Jeez, I didn't know that happened. I thought...
As long as you have a valid FYD card.
Yeah. I never really thought about it. I guess I thought it might have stayed in an evidence locker for, I don't know, forever.
Were you ever able to place the person that committed the homicide near your car or in a way that could tie them to the theft?
No, and we did a lot of investigation on our own and could never come up with that, and that's why at the time then the state's attorney, Mike Websick, asked the sheriff to look into it because they thought at the time they would be able to do some things at the jail with witnesses and individuals that were incarcerated, that they might be able to get some information that way. And I was told then that this case would be solved by the end of the week, but it still has not been, and nothing has ever come of that. So
I would imagine that you'd be anxious to see it get solved.
absolutely, I would.
Do you call and regularly ask about it, or?
I have not. I figured they know me and they know where I'm at, and if any new information came up on that, they would notify me right away. I don't want to be a thorn in the side. I know everybody's busy, so.
Everybody has a job to do. Do you think you might have a grounds for a wrongful termination lawsuit?
Again, this is a state where, I'm an at-will employee and I have no contract. So I know I can be terminated for whatever reason, whether it be good or bad. And, unfortunately, I don't think I have anything there. And that's why I haven't really made any steps. But I don't think it's right. And that's why I'm speaking up about it.
I know you said in your last sentence here, you said you felt compelled to protect your reputation. That's why you put out this press release.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the way that it was implied in the press release is that I've done something illegal, and that's not the case. And I want to make sure everybody knows that. For whatever reason it was, again, I know that it doesn't have to be a good reason or a bad reason. And I have no contract. I understand that, but I want everybody to know that I didn't do anything illegal, unethical, or immoral to lose my job.
Now, Mr. Beatty has made it clear that he says it's not related to the ongoing cases and litigation. Do you believe that, or do you think that plays into this decision?
I absolutely think that plays into this decision. It may not be the sole factor in his mind, but I think that community pressure with some of the miscommunication that has been put out, it definitely plays a part in that.
Feel you were a scapegoat?
In my heart of hearts, I feel that, yes.
You also felt like it was important to speak out to the young and Voorhees families in this. Now that there are no ties, you felt that was for something that you needed to do.
Yes, and I wanted to let them know that I do feel for them, that I do have children of my own, and I understand that. I understand their frustration. I understand, how they feel hopeless because they have no answers. I understand that. But I also wanted them to understand that it was not an intentional act, that it was nothing meant to cause them any agony or pain, that it was, and I guess it is an intentional act because of the fact that I intentionally had to withhold the information, but there was no intentional harm meant with that.
Would you be willing to meet with those families personally?
Absolutely.
Talk it out face to
Absolutely.
face?
Has there been any communication on either side to attempt to arrange that and arrange at least the opportunity to speak?
No, and we intentionally didn't speak with the young family because we didn't want them to think we were trying to influence the investigation in any way. So any conversation or any kind of information that we tried to either share or extract from the young family, we went through the state police to do that. And that was solely for that purpose, that we didn't want them to think that we were somehow trying to influence their decisions or influence any of what they might have felt our role in that investigation was. So we intentionally used the intermediary of the state police to be able to do that. With regard to Praven's family, or at the time Deputy Chief Reno had very much contact with them and had regular contact on a regular basis with them. So I don't understand where the communication breakdown was there.
In the cases that involve the Illinois State Police and the Jackson County Sheriff's Department doing investigative work, and still the cases are open, do you believe those agencies are pursuing these things diligently and professionally and trying to resolve them?
As far as the burglary, the vehicle burglary
Yeah.
involving my gun, I don't think anybody's really pursuing that actively. I think if some information falls in front of somebody, they'll pick it up and run with it. But I don't think there's any active pursuit of any information on that. With regard to the Molly Young case, I can't speak for that. Again, that's the state police, and I don't know what they're doing, if they're doing anything currently. I know that both those cases are with an appellate prosecutor for review. So I am assuming that, again, unless something falls in front of somebody, everything is on hold until the decision is made by the appellate prosecutor.
Anything you'd like to add that you wish we had asked you?
Pretty thorough.
Well, thanks for coming on in and appreciate your candor.
No problem.